Okay, guys, I'm going to do one more little quick video for the first week assignments because I have a lot of students having trouble with part two. So I want to clarify a few things before we start. When you're on your Google Classroom, I think that you should maybe just ignore that stream tab and make sure at the top that it says classwork, and that's where you're actually looking at your classwork or your assignments. So you can kind of tell from here, which, this may not be your class period, but these are the options you should have under your March 23rd through March 27th COVID plan. There's a new resource here called Week 1 Resource. This is where I'm posting these videos and the rubrics or anything else you may need for week 1. So as we get in a better system, we'll be able to access it there. But let's go ahead and look at part 2 or assignment 2. And I want you to see my directions, and let's kind of break down the directions, okay? Because I think that's one thing that some of us are struggling with is just the reading the directions, understanding what I need you to do. So of course, complete part, let's see what this does. Complete part 2 of 2 assignments for the week. If you have not completed part 1, please do that first. Please follow these directions. So open up and complete. Number 3, classification stations. So those of you that did this at the beginning, I posted the stations as one document. So some of you were getting a little frustrated that you had to see the stations and then scroll all the way down to get to your questions. So I kind of have separated that out. If that helps you, then use that as a reference, okay? So you can see that down here, the update. I separated the stations. So I'm going to kind of show you both ways to complete this step. And then you can figure out which way works best for you or makes it easiest for you. So this is the one that was posted originally. So that means the stations were pages 1 through 8. And then when you got to page 8, you actually had your student handout to complete. No matter what, you're still going to complete your answers on this document. So when you go to your classwork, you will be completing it on this number 3 right here, okay? Now, if you want to not have to scroll up and down, that's where this PDF comes in, where you can open that at the same time and kind of minimize both windows where you can kind of work at the same time. So now I'll kind of show you that. And in that case, I'll still have my student handouts open here. But I will maybe, let me do it from y'all's end so y'all can see. I'll open up my stations and minimize that. So I don't know if you saw that was next to the X is where I chose that. I kind of didn't show you this a while ago, so I want to show you real quick. You can just go to Chrome down at the bottom if you're using a computer and just open a new window, kind of drag this over and then go back to where you were on Classroom. You know, I'm the queen of tabs, right? So, well, that's going to be a little different than you. I had this open a while ago, right? And so I'm just going to copy and then paste it over here. So right click, copy, right click, paste. I'm not sure if you can see all that basically, but now I'll go back to where I have my PDF open, where I can see my stations and then complete the actual handout at the same time. Like I said, you'll have to play with this if you're on a phone, but this is, for me to help the computer people. So now let me give you some actual help about this part. So on the stations, station 1, if you actually read the information here, it's going to teach you some information about where you have the majority of species or like your numbers. And then when you move down your pyramid, it gets fewer or less. Kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, species. And species is your tip down here at the bottom. Let's see if I can turn my annotate back on. Down here, right? And that's where I like to say King Philip came over for good spaghetti, because that helps you with that order. Species is the most specific, so that's when we get more closely related as we move down, and that there's fewer organisms when we get to the bottom, or species. So we say species is specific, or as we move down, we get more specific. And that's kind of what that station taught us, okay? If we read all that information. I guess I could just hit clear and not click, click, click. But now on station 1, what 2 organisms are most closely related? On this, you just start at kingdom, and we're comparing 3 species here. And so you can kind of just read across, okay, the lion, the wolf, and the gecko are all in the same kingdom. And then you go to phylum. Okay, they're all in the same phylum, which is chordata, which means they have a nerve cord. Oh, you know what? They're pretty sure there's another organism over here. Hold on. I don't think we're seeing everything we need to see. Oh, there he is, that sneaky little fox. So yes, backing up, they're all in the same animal kingdom. They're all in the same chordata phylum. And then when we get to class, we see divergence, or it's now diverging. The lion, the mammal, no, the lion, the wolf, and the fox are all in the mammal or mammalia kingdom, and the gecko becomes different right there. Okay, so this is where this reptile, or this gecko, now becomes a reptile. So it's now separating off. So as of now, the lion, the wolf, and the fox are closely related, and the gecko is kind of taken out of it. But Neo, you need to keep going. So I would just kind of cross this out for just a second. Now, not on your paper, but just for me to show you. So let's keep going. Now in order, we have carnivore, carnivore, carnivore. That means they're all carnivores. And I think you know what that means, that they eat meat. And then when we get down to family, the lion is Felidae, the wolf is Canidae, and the fox is Canidae. So maybe you've heard of felines. That means they're in the cat species. Canidae, maybe you're saying at home like, oh yeah, that's the opposite of cat. Maybe that's dog. So now at this point, the lion diverges or becomes a little different. So the 2 most closely related organisms are the wolf and the fox. Okay. Then I would have to clear all of this to help you with the second one. But since I taught you a lot about divergent and how to show when they separate, I think you can answer number 2 with the previous help I gave you. Okay. Now, when you go to station 2, again, maybe you're going to scroll down in your PDF to go to station 2, and you're going to learn how to properly write a scientific name. So one thing that it's going to be hard to do when you're on a computer is you have to make sure that you know how to do italics or underline. So I need you to play with those tools. If you are going to have to write this on paper or something, then yes, I just want you to underline it, because you cannot write in italics. Okay, write your name using binomial nomenclature form. This is not needing to be an overthought, but my name is Portia Bryant. So I'm going to write my first name, Portia, with a capital P, because when you read and learn how to write a proper scientific name, you have to capitalize the genus. My last name is Bryant. Your species name is that second name or last name in our example, and you always write it lowercase. And then this is where it would be great if you're on a computer. You will be able to come up here and choose the I or italics after you highlight it. And of course, there's no need to underline and italics. It's either or. So I chose to italics. I do not have to underline here. Okay. All right, station 3. This is one where people were saying, Ms. Bryan, how do I actually do this? So this is one I may need you to take a note or put this somewhere down on a sticky note or a piece of paper for you. When you do number 1 on station 3, you need to just draw it out, maybe on notebook paper, or if you're really tech savvy and you want to do this as a drawing on docs, then you can do that by insert a drawing. You can draw it all out, kind of like we're going to see at station 3. Okay, so you're going to draw cell, tissue, organ system, organism, and then you're going to maybe take a picture of it and send it to me like that. Now, if there is a way that you want to actually connect all of that to your computer or take a picture with your phone, you can insert the image straight from there by using insert image at the top. Okay, so just maybe you're going to draw it on paper, take a picture. You can insert it here or you can attach it on your actual assignment. Okay, so that means when you go back to maybe your actual assignment or where you're going to turn in, you can add it or attach it as an attachment there. Okay, so I'm a teacher, so mine looks a little different, but I think you guys can kind of figure out what I'm talking about there. Okay, go back to that PDF. Station 4 is where you're going to get off these stations for just a second, or you're going to actually get off and go to the Venn diagram. So just to keep me on the same document for a minute, I'm going to just know that when I complete station 4, I might need to know this information and pay close attention to my hints. Okay, but for now, just to finish the stations, I'm going to go to station 5. Okay, station 5 is showing you how to use a dichotomous key. So when you actually read all the information in the stations, because that's the whole point of the stations, is to read that information first and then go to your student handout to enforce what you learned or practice what you learned in the stations. So it's going to tell you step by step how to do a dichotomous key. You should remember how to do this from the junior high. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to just help you with the smiley faces, at least one of these, so you can see how this looks. So if you followed your directions or you read your directions, you learned that you always start with one at a time. So this is my smiley emoji number 1, and I'm going to write his scientific name right here once I figure out what he is. When you're on a dichotomous key, you always start at 1, which is right here, and you're doing your either or options. So it's either this characteristic or this characteristic, and then you do what the step says. So looking at emoji number 1, it says, is his teeth visible or the teeth not visible? So I can see a little glimmer of teeth right there. So I'm going to say visible. And it says, go to step 2. Go to step 2. Does he have a wide toothy smile or is he not smiling? This is not smiling. This is me during this COVID stuff. Go to step 3. Is he visibly crying or is he frowning? So since I see tears, sometimes I've seen tears for my 9-year-old this week for sure, visibly crying, and I visibly see tears, I now have no more steps to follow because I have reached a conclusion of what that emoji species name is. So he is Smilus dramaticus. I know a couple of Smilus dramaticuses myself. And so at this point, maybe you just come over here and you type in Smilus dramaticus. Okay, now, am I panicking that it's looking all weird? Not really. I know that I can just kind of go take some of those lines out, and then I can go underline it to be the line, right? But go ahead in italics because it is a scientific name. Okay, now you start back over at step 1 on the next emoji, right? And then you just keep going. You should not have any repeats. Like I will not have another Smilus dramaticus. Okay, I have 10 emojis. I have 10 different scientific names. Once I get through this video, I will double check my answer key and make sure I'm correct on that right there. Okay, so once you complete your 10 smiley face emojis, then you're ready for station 6. Okay, station 6, there is a cladogram there, and when you learn about cladograms from station 6, you have 2 questions to answer. Okay, and then that would kind of finish up your doc on your stations. Okay, now let's go back to the classwork for a second, because I did tell you that station 4 was a separate thing. So all station 4 is when you open this, and we've done this before, so I felt comfortable leaving this with you. You have to drag and drop your boxes in the appropriate spots. When you were reading your classification stations for Station 4, this is where it gave you all kinds of information on how to do the Venn diagram. I even gave you some hints on what might go somewhere, and that you should have 4 boxes under prokaryote and 7 in the middle and 7 under the eukaryotes. So if you don't get that, then don't submit it. And go ahead and make sure you read my hints, because we have not learned fully about protists, so I gave you a hint there. Okay? And then the second part of, or the third part of this assignment, right? So we've completed second part. Third part is to complete 5 classification practice, okay? Now there was a couple of things that are a little weird on here. So at this point, I'm either gonna omit them or give you a way to complete them, okay? So I'm gonna kind of open up my classification. Uh-oh, hold on a second. I'll just open it from here. Classification practice worksheet. Oh no. Come on. Okay, so here, you're gonna take everything that you've learned thus far on classification this week and use it to show me what you learned. Okay, so you can use their notes, you can use your PowerPoint, you can use your station, and then you're going to just practice showing me what you know. I will tell you on number 1, there's 2 answers. And if you cannot figure out how to put an X like that, then you could maybe just select your answers, because I said there's 2 answers, and highlight them, okay? It's talking about if you're in the same class, you must belong to the same what. So if you understand how the pyramid works and kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, species, then the only thing that happens before the class are the only things that they can actually share in common. So King Philip came over for good spaghetti, right? Class, the only 2 things that are above class are kingdom and phylum. So they have to be in the same class, or they have to be in the same kingdom and phylum if they're in the same class. It makes me think of station 1 that we were looking at earlier, okay? Number 2 is pretty easy too, because you're just filling in kingdom, phylum, class, right? Number 3, if we're looking for individual species, you have to remember how we name an individual species. So look at scientific names, and I would just highlight which one of these pairs is the correct answer here. So there's only 1. And then on number 4, 5, and 6, you have to use this chart. Okay, so which 3 animals is the tiger most closely related to? So what I want you to see here is if they have the same genus name, just like we learned on station 1, if they have the same genus name, then they are more closely related. So the tiger, right? The tiger is called Panthera tigris, right? So they are in Panthera. So to figure out who else is closely related to the tiger, I would look for those hints we just talked about. That means that they're also going to have Panthera as their genus name. So I think I just gave you the answer to number 4. Number 5, would you expect an animal with the name Rana Anka to look similar to a mountain lion? Okay, so I want you to kind of use the information you have here and what we learned thus far. Maybe I can make an assumption that maybe it's not that closely related, or at least to a mountain lion, because the mountain lion has no genus or species name in common with that. All right, number 6. Which animal is the house cat closest to? So on this one, you look at the house cat's scientific name and figure out someone he is most closely related to, like we did on number 4. Okay, words are not coming to me right now. All right, number 6, I do want to talk to you about, well, not number 6, on this cladogram construction. So what I would do if I was you If you cannot figure out how to actually edit this and type words, because you can't actually type on here as a text box, okay, like if you do know how to do this, you can type there, and then when you know, save and close, it will save your picture. I didn't type anything, right? So it's not going to save anything there. What I think I would do if I was you is just take a piece of paper, and then I would actually write this, like draw the lines, and then start working on this. And then when you're finished, send me a picture or attach the picture in your assignment. I'm going to kind of give you some hints here, and I'll probably just annotate it so you can see it. Okay. So when you do a cladogram, first thing is you put your species at the top. So I have 4 branches, right? One, let me see if I can spotlight this so you can see it. I'm learning so much. So 1, 2, 3, 4 at the top. My hint to you is you will always put the simplest organisms on the left, and then as they develop new traits, which are these lines down here, or characteristics, we move to the right and we get more complex. So when you look at this table down here, you have to try to figure out who kind of doesn't fit, who does not have any of those traits that are going to go on these bottom branches. Okay, so when you look at this table, who does not have 4 legs, who does not have an amniotic egg, and who does not have hair? And I'm hoping that you're saying tuna or screaming tuna at the screen. So I would just say tuna goes right there. And I'm just annotating on my screen. Like I said, you could insert that as a text box if you double click on the actual picture. Okay. Now what is something's weird happening? So tuna goes there. Okay. And then on the bottom is where your traits go. So basically whoever comes next, they are going to have something that, that tuna did not have, right? So this trait would maybe go here, and I hope that you noticed the frog has 4 legs, but of course the tuna doesn't. So right here, I guess I could just show you how this works. Maybe if I can figure it out right. I want it to go right here. 4, oh wow, right, cannot spell. 4 legs. Okay, so on the bottom is where our traits go, or our characteristics go, that make us different species. So you should be able to tell me what's going to go next, right up here after the tuna, or to the right of the tuna, right? So I hope that helps, and I hope that you've seen a couple of different ways that you can either just write this down on paper and send a picture to me, or actually double click on the doc and type by adding text boxes. You can draw and do other things, but I think for this one, you'll just need text boxes. So, on this one, when I did tuna as an annotation, I could have just actually wrote tuna here. And then, of course, we learned that frog goes next, right? So again, insert text box, add it here, write frog, because a frog has 4 legs and a tuna doesn't. So now you're going to keep going. What does that next species have that the frog did not have? Okay, and then of course when you hit save and close, it just kind of saves it as a saves it as that picture. Okay, so you may also notice on this one that the analysis 1, 2, 3 is basically kind of helping you with what I just helped you with. And on the next page, I do need you to answer number 4 and 5, but you are going to be able to omit number 6. You do not have to do number 6, okay? So remember, if you have to sketch a picture, just make sure you attach that. And I don't think I fully showed you this rubric, maybe not at all, right? So when we look at part 2 that we just went over, half of your grade will come from your stations, right? And then I just kind of put a reminder here to send pick of station 3 if you just drew it on paper. And then the next part of that assignment is the Venn diagram, where we did our dragging and our dropping like this, right? And I told you about our hints there. And that's worth 15 points. And then that last paper that we were just on, classification practice, where we were going to omit number 6, and either double click and draw to add to our drawing for the cladogram, or maybe we just want to do it on paper because it's easier. Just make sure you send me that picture of the cladogram, and that entire worksheet is 35 points. So that's how you can make 100 on part 2 or assignment 2 from this week. Okay. Again, I'm only learning all of this because my students are sending me reminds and asking to Zoom. And I've learned a lot from you guys in the last few days as well. So just know that please keep that information coming. And if you need help, don't hesitate. I hope this information was helpful and clear. And I miss you guys so much. Talk to you soon.